We've all complained about apartment living at some point. The paper-thin walls, the neighbor who decides to practice tap dancing at 2 a.m., and the elevator that breaks down every other week. But what if the world suddenly ended? What if those heavy footsteps upstairs weren't just your neighbor moving furniture again, but a shuffling undead corpse? Suddenly, being elevated 4 stories off the ground doesn't sound like such a bad deal.
But is an apartment building actually a post-apocalyptic fortress, or just a vertical coffin waiting to be sealed? Let's stop guessing and actually break it down.
Before we start boarding up our front doors, let's set the ground rules so we're on the same page. We are dealing with classic, slow shambling walkers. No track stars, no parkour zombies. Just relentless, mindless numbers. As for your location, we're talking about an average mid-rise apartment complex. No luxury penthouses with private helipads, and no heavily fortified military bunkers. Just a standard building with a lobby, a couple of stairwells, and a whole lot of neighbors. You were already home when the emergency broadcast started. You've got whatever's in your cupboards, maybe a small group of friends or family, and absolutely no plot armor. All right, let's look at the pros and see what gives you a fighting chance.
First off, elevation is your best friend. Zombies are notoriously bad at navigating stairs. If you live on the 3rd floor or higher, you already have a massive physical buffer between you and the chaos on the streets. Most apartment buildings have heavy fire doors in the stairwells. If you can jam those shut, lock them, or barricade them with heavy furniture, you effectively cut off the only way up. You turn your floor into an exclusive VIP safe zone. Then there's the loot. An apartment building is basically a stacked grid of supply caches. Think about it. Every single unit has a kitchen, a bathroom, and closets. If the building evacuates or people don't make it, you have dozens of pantries to scavenge without ever having to step outside into the dangerous streets. You're doing indoor supply runs. You might find canned soup, bottled water, batteries, and maybe a golf club or a baseball bat from the sports fanatic down the hall.
If your building has roof access, you've just hit the surveillance jackpot. A flat rooftop gives you a 360-degree view of the surrounding city. You can track horde movements, spot fires before they spread, and watch for other survivor groups. More importantly, a roof gives you a secure place to set up rain catchers using buckets and tarps, which is going to be absolutely critical once the city pumps stop working. You might even be able to start a small container garden up there, assuming you know what you're doing with some potting soil and seeds.
Another huge benefit is that apartments are designed to be compartmentalized. If one unit gets breached, it doesn't mean the whole floor is lost. You can fall back, lock the next door, and create layers of defense.
All right, this is sounding like a pretty cozy little doomsday staycation. But let's reel it back in, because things aren't all sunshine and rainbows, and an apartment can become a death trap real quick. Let's look at the cons.
The biggest threat to your survival isn't even the zombies, it's the building itself. Apartments are fire hazards on a normal day. Now imagine the power grid goes down. People are terrified. Someone down the hall decides to use a camping stove in their living room, knocks it over, and suddenly the 2nd floor is an inferno. There's no fire department coming. The sprinkler systems will eventually run dry. If a fire starts below you and the stairwells fill with smoke, you have absolutely nowhere to go. You're trapped.
And speaking of being trapped, let's talk about those stairwells. If the ground floor and the lobby get overrun, your fortress just became a cage. You might be safe up on the 5th floor, but how are you ever getting out? Elevators are dead without power, and dropping a rope out the window is a great way to end up as a zombie piñata. You are totally dependent on your finite supplies.
Then there's the noise. In an empty building, sound travels like crazy. If you drop a frying pan, or if you get into a shouting match with your roommate about who gets the last can of beans, that sound echoes down the hall, down the garbage chute, and out the windows. Walkers follow sound. They will gather at the base of your building, pressing against the glass lobby doors until they shatter. Let's not forget about your neighbors. In the beginning, people might cooperate, but when the tap water stops flowing and the pantries run dry, desperation kicks in. The same nice lady who asked to borrow a cup of sugar last week might now be at your door with a kitchen knife, demanding your supplies. High-density living means high-density threats. You aren't just defending against the dead, you're defending against hungry, terrified humans who know exactly where you sleep.
Sanitation is going to be a nightmare too. When the water stops, the toilets stop. Now multiply that by 100 units. Within a week, the smell of unflushed waste, rotting food in dead refrigerators, and worse, the bodies of people who didn't make it, will turn the building into a biohazard. Without proper ventilation, you're looking at severe disease outbreaks before a zombie even gets close to you. So, could you actually survive a zombie apocalypse in an apartment building? Let's get to the verdict.
Short-term survival rating, 8 out of 10. During the first 30 days, sheltering in place in your apartment is one of the smartest moves you can make. You avoid the initial panic on the streets, you have a defensible high ground, and you can comfortably live off the supplies scattered throughout the building. If you lock down the stairwells early, you are in a highly secure position.
Long-term survival rating, 3 out of 10. Once you hit month 2 or 3, the clock runs out. The food will eventually be stripped bare. The hygiene situation will become unlivable. And most importantly, if a massive horde surrounds the building or a fire breaks out, you have zero escape routes. An apartment is a fantastic place to hide, but it is not a place to rebuild civilization. Eventually, you will have to pack your bags and face the streets.
All right, guys, now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with the ratings? Would you stay in your apartment, or would you immediately try to make a run for it? Drop a comment below and let me know. I read almost everything you guys post. Till next time, guys, cheers.